Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. The weekend is here, which is never a bad thing. I made a video a few days ago about Chris Eubank Jr. saying, I think it had the title Wasted Talent. And I don't think Eubank's wasted all his talent, but I definitely think he had a lot more to give. And for whatever reason, I mean, go watch the video if you're interested in my musings, but I think he's spilt a lot of it. And now at 34, he's leaving it a bit late in the day. Now, one of the fights that has been proposed is a rematch with Billy Joe Saunders. And the first match took place 10 years ago. I mean, well, almost 10 years ago, almost a decade ago. And I was saying, well, does anyone actually care about that win, anymore? Does anybody care about repeat or revenge or however they're going to spin it? And then I got to thinking, well, does anyone actually care about Billy Joe Saunders anymore? Does anyone really care about his career? If he has a career, I thought he'd retired. I mean, he certainly seems to have retired. His last fight was his only defeat against Canelo Alvarez. That was in May of 2021. So that's I don't know, nearly 3.5 years ago. I forgot to look up how old he is. What is he, about mid-30s now? 34, 35? I don't know, whatever it is. He's roughly the same age as Eubank, so he's probably in his mid-30s now. But does anyone really care about his career? And he is another one who, although he's achieved a great deal, he's won belts at 2 weights, middle and super middle, both WBO belts. He made a lot of money. Obviously, the Canelo fight must have got him, I think I read something like 8 million or something, 6 million, 8 million. So he's obviously been getting fat. You see the pictures of him looking about 3 or 4 stone overweight. And he's been living the high life, really. And again, I wouldn't say he's wasted all his talent, because if you look at his record, I mean, if you look at his build-up to his first world title shot, he was beating people like Bradley Price. He beat him over 12. That was for the Commonwealth middleweight title. Bradley was a long reigning, I think it was a 154-pound Commonwealth champ, made several good defences, very good defences, and then sort of slipped into gatekeeper stroke journeyman type afterwards, but was actually a pretty good, decent fighter. And he beat Nick Blackwell on over 12 rounds. That was for the British and the Commonwealth middleweight title. And he beat Matthew Hall. That was a good win. That was another 12-round decision. Spike O'Sullivan, he beat over 12. Spike was undefeated at the time, in 16. And he's going the 12-round distance a lot. And he also beat John Ryder over 12 as well. These are unanimous decisions. They're not sort of, squeaking out victories. And then when he fought Eubank Jr., he was completely outboxing him. Eubank came on strong. It was probably a case of Saunders, not being in as great condition as he should have been. But here's the thing. He was fighting all those fights at middleweight, and it was perfectly feasible that he could have got down to 154. He probably, with a bit of discipline and the proper diet and everything, he'd have been a 154-pound fighter. And then he could have moved up to middleweight later on. But he stayed at middleweight. He had enough talent to win British. He won the European title off Emmanuel Blandemura, I think the guy's name is. And that was a stoppage in 8 rounds. He'd been British, Commonwealth, European, done it the right way, definitely the right way, I think. That's always the way I like to see prospects brought on. I think he even held the Southern Area title, but I can't remember who it was against. It was did I see that fight? I can't remember. But he definitely held it. So he went through the incremental steps, which is a great way to do your career. Great way to do your career. And then he bumps into Eubank. He beats him. He moves on. He beats Andy Lee for his first world title, the WBO title. That's a great win. It was a majority decision. I thought Billy Joe won it, but Andy Lee, I like Andy Lee. I thought he was a good fighter. Hit hard, very hard, especially with the left hook. And then he made defences. Willie Monroe Jr. wasn't an exciting fight. Completely outclassed David Lemieux. And David Lemieux could punch, but he wasn't given a chance to land anything. And Billy Joe at that point, which was back in 2017, was flying, absolutely flying. And then he kind of petered out a bit. I mean, the following year he had only one fight, and that was a sort of end of the year runaround against Charles Adamu, who was just picking up paychecks, who had slipped into journeyman mode and stopped him. I think he retired after 4 rounds, Adamu. And then he won. I can't remember who he won it against, but I know he won the vacant. Was it the? Let me get this right. I think he won the vacant super middleweight title against a guy whose name I can't remember, and it was another 12-round decision. So Billy Joe can do the 12 rounds very, very well. I can't remember the guy he won it off, or it was a vacant belt, I think. And then he defended against Marcelo Caceres, who was undefeated in 29 fights. And only had 1 draw in there. 28 wins, 1 draw. And he looked awful. He looked absolutely terrible. He was behind on points, I think, and he stopped. I think he was behind on points anyway. I know it was a bad performance. And then he stopped him in the 11th round, Caceres. Then he had a little run around with Martin Murray, who was past his best, won every round, or virtually every round. Another 12-round decision, another one. Poor old Martin, he had, I think, 5 world title fights, could never quite get over the finishing line. One of those guys who, very, very good British middleweight, couldn't quite win the world title, but a very good fighter. And then he had the Alvarez fight. Now, all of this is, when you think about it, is a pretty decent career. But the thing with Billy Joe is, like I say, there's always been that discipline issue. And against Alvarez, by the end of it, he was losing the fight, but he was at least making it reasonably competitive, making Canelo work. And Canelo, busted his eye socket, and Billy Joe retired after 8 rounds. The plug was pulled on the fight, understandably so. He's got a busted eye socket, and that remains his only defeat. But that was almost 3.5 years ago. So we're talking about a fighter who basically retired, even though he didn't announce it, and now he's coming back, supposedly coming back. We keep hearing rumours that he's coming back. So you have to ask yourself, does anyone care anymore? I mean, I think he really, if he wants to come back, he's got to have 2 or 3, maybe 10 rounders, make a bit of a splash, maybe mouth off like he always does, get people's attention and build up a rematch with Eubank, or go for someone else in the super middle division. Can he even make super middleweight? Because he was. You see the photos of him. He's way, way overweight, about 3.5 stone overweight at least. So I don't know about this. At the moment, I don't care about Billy Joe's comeback at all. And admittedly, it's because a part of it is that I don't think he was ever the most boring fighter. But he was certainly one of the mouthiest. He didn't strike me as being a particularly nice person outside the ring. He did some really horrible things, stupid things. And, not really someone who I would want to hang with, to be honest with you. But anyway, what do you think? Do you care about Billy Joe Saunders anymore? Do you think he's relevant at the moment? I don't. I certainly don't think he's relevant. Can he get back to being relevant with a few comeback fights and kind of position himself to where people want to see him fight Eubank again, or whoever the hell else it is at super middleweight? Can he make super middleweight? You leave your comments below, and I'm going to say the usual: subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Help the channel out. Please do that as well. And I will read your comments and answer as many as I can. Thank you as always for your time. The weekend is here. Peace. I'll get you later. Bye for now.